All right, last story. We have spawning of winter Chinook salmon begin in Livingston Stone National Fish Hatchery.
So Livingston Stone is right below Shasta Dam, and I think Coleman Fish Hatchery gets a lot more press,
Right.
or a lot, because they can have visitors there, and it's a whole exciting. But Livingston Stone is an important part of salmon runs in Northern California. Historically, salmon, went all the way up the Sacramento River into, the Pitt River and McCloud and all those different arms. And now there's dams. They have Keswick Dam and Shasta Dam. They obviously can't get there. So Livingston Stone, by the way, it's the only hatchery in the world that raises listed winter Chinook salmon. But the officials there, they actually grab the salmon that are coming back to spawn and where they were originally, hatched, I guess you would call it hatched, where they were babies. And they have to put them in a truck and take them upstream up to near the Shasta Dam from Keswick Dam. But it's just an important process for the salmon runs, and it's really cool how they do it. I mean, they really look at the DNA of each of these salmon, and they take the eggs out and they make sure that they're not related. So I don't know what you call that, salmon incest. They don't want, salmon that are related to spawn with each other, and then they, hatch baby salmon and raise them to a certain level and then release them back, and it's an ongoing process. So these fish that are returning this year were released from that facility probably 3 years ago.
I love this story. I mean, first off, Chinook salmon are huge. They can be. And so it's really exciting for the community that these fish are, they're spawning again. For those not familiar, salmon, once they spawn, they basically die. They spawn and then they die. And so one of the things, and I saw this on Instagram before the story on Active NorCal came out, but I found fascinating, and I didn't know this, that there's a whole crew that goes up and down the river all during the salmon spawning season, and they're just there to just kind of spot dead salmon who have died because, of natural causes, because they've already spawned. And what they do is they collect these dead fish and they identify them by gender, length, and if the fish was from the hatchery or if it was born on the river, just to kind of keep I guess it's a census, if you will, of the river. And I don't know. I think some people would probably find that job kind of gross. You're just kind of messing with dead fish.
Super cool.
Well, our dad grew up. Our dad would do this with. He'd help Fish and Game do surveys of the bugs that would run in certain streams, and and so we saw. Our dad collected bugs when we were a kid, so maybe that's why I don't think it's that weird. I also learned how to completely fillet fish in culinary school, so I'm used to handling dead fish all the time. But I found that was fascinating. We talk about how people that are like park rangers at places like Yosemite, they love being in the outdoors, and so they get their dream job of being in a place that they love and just kind of hanging out. Imagine having the job of just drifting up and down a beautiful river like the Sacramento River, and yeah, you're collecting dead fish, but it's for science, and I don't personally think it's that gross. I think it's really cool.
So to be clear, they're not collecting the fish. They grab it, they analyze it, and they put it back.
Right.
Because decomposing salmon are huge to the environment, the biology of the river.
And the area around the river.
Correct.
Yeah, not just the river. Yeah.
Correct. So So they grab it off the floor, a dead salmon. They analyze it. They try to see where it's from and everything like that. Sacramento River winter run Chinook salmon are listed as endangered species under both federal and state law. The NOAA considers winter run Chinook salmon among 8 marine species most at risk of extinction.
And now that's almost completely due. Well, the damming I'm sure didn't help, but that's fishing, right?
It's damming.
You think it's just completely damming?
I mean, obviously it's a combination of the two, but the dam.
They're trophy fish, and so they're not like fly fishing like we do is very catch and release, but those are some keepers.
Yeah. Yeah, the dams, I would say, are the biggest. I mean, any barrier you have for these fish not being able to spawn, just completely wiped. I mean, you look at the Klamath salmon populations have basically gone extinct because there's so many dams there. That's why they're trying to remove them. But yeah, it's just, these fish are not only beautiful and not only native to Northern California, but they are, they're on the verge of extinction. And so this process is very important to make sure we have these runs. And this is a reason why Lunker Lane in Redding is blocked off to fishing for much of the summer, because they are allowing salmon to go through and they don't want to interrupt them at all. This is why the Sundial Bridge over the Sacramento River in Redding doesn't touch the water at all. It was designed as such to not disturb these endangered salmon. So this is a very important process to keep these fish, not extinct. And it's cool how they do it. The science is really cool, and we wish them luck, and we wish these salmon great luck on their journey to and from the Pacific Ocean.
Absolutely.